What's going on, everyone? Steven here. Some of you may recognize me from my YouTube channel, Steven Chapman, where I have been teaching game hacking and reverse engineering for the better part of about 10 years now. I primarily focus on cheat engine over on my channel, so coming over here to guided hacking to touch on some ancillary aspects of game hacking and reverse engineering in general. So hopefully you'll enjoy my series of videos I plan to do over here. And with that said, the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to hack the game Vampire Survivors. Now, a lot of game hackers have had issues with this game. Cheat engine is, of course, the tool of choice for game hackers, and though it is very capable, it is not the right tool for this job. And the reason is because Vampire Survivors, as it turns out, is an Electron-based game. And Electron allows you to take web technology like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, whatever your favorite front-end framework might be, or game library in JavaScript or whatever, and you can develop in that and then export out to an executable that will run on the desktop. So that comes with its own set of circumstances and reasons why tools like cheat engine, memory scanners, things like that, why they have issues. There's garbage collection issues, there's issues of value types and JavaScript, how values are stored and all that stuff. So anyway, we're going to get around all that, which is great. All right, so first thing we're going to do is browse local files. And we're just going to kind of take a look around here, and there we go. All right, so some of the key indicators that you're dealing with an Electron game or application, you'll see this like Chrome pack. You might see those. Executables from Electron are ginormous, super huge, and rarely will anything that you want to do be actually bundled in the executable. It's not to say that there won't be, but this is all pretty much Chromium and everything that Electron builds into this environment. Everything is pretty much located in directories. So it's a mixed bag as to if you get encrypted or obfuscated or packed files or any of that, because, you know, there's a plethora of things that people could use to develop their stuff in, right? Luckily, Vampire Survivors has things pretty straightforward for us. So if you got to digging around, you would find this renderer directory where we have an assets folder, and this has a whole bunch of stuff in it that you could modify if you wanted, including this image directory filled with images and stuff that you could upscale if you wanted. Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. What we're interested in primarily here is this main.bundle.js, but don't discount other JavaScript files. I'll show you why later in the video. This one will come into play. But Webpack was used for this game, so that means this is pretty much at the very least a minified file, which means that some naming conventions, formatting, different things like that are changed to reduce file size and all kinds of stuff, but that's okay. So typically, well, since these are web files, VS Code is highly recommended to use for a text editor. You can use pretty much any text editor to open a JavaScript file and look at it. We're going to start with VS Code, and as you can see, this is the minified version of the file. And it would be nice to look at something more than just this. And in VS Code, you can right-click and go Format Document. And then there are also formatters you can download. You can specify your own formatting rules. As it turns out, by default, there's not a formatting rule for this particular format. But that's all right. I'll show you a quick trick to get around that. I was looking for a rule to bring into VS Code here, but I couldn't quite find one in time. So I'm sure one is out there. But in the meantime, I'm going to go into that, excuse me, the render directory. Right-click on the file, copy as path. Then I'm going to go to Chrome. I'm going to paste that, and delete the quotes, hit enter. That's going to open the file here. Now I'm going to hit F12 to bring up DevTools, and what this is going to allow us to do is see the file over here in sources. So if you don't have sources selected here, click on sources, then click on the file, and this is it over here. Now what we'll do is click this button here, which will pre-print this file, because Chrome is really good at understanding what the format of this Minified file should be. Yeah, so now that we've got that, I'm going to click anywhere in here, Control-A to select all, Control-C to copy. I'm going to go back into VS Code, Control-A to select all, delete, and paste. All right. Now we've got that pre-printed version of the file here, which we can go ahead and save, because this is valid JavaScript. It just has all its formatting back, which is obviously going to increase the file size. All this spacing increases file size. But we're fine with that because this is a 6 megabyte file, and how big is that executable again? Like 130 megs? Ridiculous. Anyway, okay, so the first thing that you can do is spend some time going through a file like this, looking for meaningful string names. And we have that here in this game. So you can already see, like right off the jump, we have stuff like cheats, debug info, things like that. You can see how it's kind of, its convention for certain values. This evaluates to false. So you could get rid of that for true to enable some cheats, which, you know, you can explore and figure out what that'll do. But the problem that we're going to solve in this video is finding coins, things related to coins, and other things related to the player. And Chrome is going to make that very easy for us. So anyway, you can go through this file searching for things like coins. Let's want to do coins. We see this debug coins here. I'm going to keep going. Earned 5,000 coins. We see a PNG. Now we're at this add 1 to your gold coins total. So if you get to looking at this, right, you see what this description is. You see what gold coin is. We see experience gem, coin bag, and if you've played the game, you know what these items are, right? And so we're already seeing interesting things that we can correlate to items in the game. So let's keep looking at these keys, and you might see stuff like rarity, value. All right, value of a coin is 1. The value of a coin bag is what? A, which is 10 in hex. And 10 coins is what a coin bag is worth. So you might think, well, if I change this to like 1 bajillion precisely, will that give me that many coins whenever I pick up 1 coin in the game? And yes, it will. So typically what you would do is look around in the file like this, try to ascertain some correlations like that, make your change, save your file, launch the game, see what happens, and then continue iterating like that, right? So yeah, that's pretty neat. That's one way to approach the problem. So if you couldn't find player coins, but you want to give yourself a ton of coins, boom, you've solved the problem. That's one way. If we keep looking for coins, as you can see, we have 195 results. So you can keep going through, spend a lot of time doing that. One of the tools I like to use is a program called PowerGREP. And this allows you to essentially search through folders, files, recursively in directories for a search term. And this is a super powerful tool. But anyway, basically how I have it set right now is I've navigated to the Vampire Survivors directory. I've told it I want you to search all files and folders recursively throughout for coins. All right, now I'm going to hit search. And this is another benefit to printing that file. All right, so first of all, what this has done is it's returned every file it's found the word coins in that entire directory and any of its folders. All right, So we can see the names of the files, and then we can see exactly where it found our search term. And this is our main.bundle.js. And what this does is neatly tell us which line has whatever value. So this gives us a very nice way to see very quickly all those kind of search results, right? So you can look through here, look for interesting key names, method names, class names, all kinds of stuff, right? So that's just starting with looking through the files to ascertain what you can. So now, because this is an Electron-based game, you can enable remote debugging in Electron applications. All right, so what we're going to do now is go back into the game directory. We're going to go back to the root of that game directory where we see the executable. Right-click in there, open in terminal. All right, that's going to open a PowerShell window here, and I'm going to type /va tab for Vampire Survivors, and then I'm going to do -- remote debugging port equals, and you can enter whatever you want here. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hit enter. All right, and over here on my other monitor, the game has launched, which, okay, that's cool, but what does that do for us? Well, what we can do now is go into Chrome, and we can go to localhost :1234. And we see here Vampire Survivors as inspectable web contents. Let's click that. All right. Actually, because this has our file from that other thing, I'm just going to open a new tab and do that again. Localhost :1234. And if something like bombs out on you in the tab, you can just reopen it and do this again. So we've got DevTools, and we have this window here, right? This is connected via WebSocket. This is the game. We can play the game here in this window. And what you might see sometimes is, I'm going to do this. Let's see. If we have this maximized right now, this window, okay, this says the tab is inactive. And what that means is it basically needs to think it's living side by side with the actual game window itself, okay? So you basically can't have this particular window maximized. As soon as we resize it down, which actually, let's see, it's maximized here. Maybe because I have it partially on my other monitor. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Long story short, if you see this, the tab is inactive, you typically need to just have it not maximized. It needs to kind of see a piece of this window like directly behind here. Okay, so anyway, now that we got that out of the way, if you're a web developer, you're kind of right at home. You know, you have stuff like this image rendering. They have pixelated set here. Let's do unset. And if you saw over here, if you go back, that slightly did away with some of the pixelation that effect set. Now you can do something like filter sepia 1. And now we're basically playing Vampire Survivors with this Game Boy looking filter. So that's pretty awesome. And the cool thing about that too is it's applying to the actual game window. So you can make all your modifications over here and then close it out completely if you want, or minimize it, whatever, and just play in the main game window, right? So now that we've got that, we want to start trying to do some things in the game to make sure some values get initialized, right, or instantiated. So, you know, you want to play the game a little bit, do some things, do as many like little normal things as you would here. Go to this dude, buy a couple of things, go back, So I've decreased gold. I've got some chicken, and I want to get a coin, which should be right over here somewhere. So, you know, we're killing enemies. Anything that has sort of a method tied to it or a class that could be instantiated, we want to make sure that that happens. All right. I think I've probably collected a coin by now. Usually there's like the little candle holders that you can break to give you a coin. I don't see any of those right now. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to hit escape, and now that we've done that, you can go to application, and you can start looking around through here in your local storage, session storage, indexed DB, different things like that, and see if you see anything of interest. If we look in the local storage file here, we see something very interesting right off the bat. Total coins. What if we search for coins? All right, here we see 8001.52. So obviously this is like a floating point number, and this is one of the issues with using Cheat Engine to find values in this game. So whenever you attach to the executable, there are like different issues with how JavaScript treats values as it's reading and writing. And then between its garbage collection and all that, like even if you choose right now to look for this value as a float in Cheat Engine with different levels of precision, or you try a double or whatever, you're probably not going to find this value in there. And yeah, so excuse me. So that's a thing, and why we're doing this. So, all right. Took a sip of my drink there. All right, so now that we've done that, we're gleaning some information from here. We've got this capacitor storage dot whatever. And since we know that there are things here in local storage, okay, that clues us in on at least one type of method that exists in one of these files, and that is setItem, the setItem method, which sets an item in local storage. Conversely, you have getItem, which gets an item from local storage. So you might be inclined to see this and be like, hey, this is how many coins we have. If I change this number, does it change our coins? And if you go try that, no, it will not change your coins, because as it turns out, the game doesn't get any values from here to then apply anything to it or subtract from it or whatever to then restore it back here. This is basically only for when the game saves and updates certain things. Those values show here, all right? But we're on our way to something interesting, okay? So as you start seeing this stuff here, if you go back to the source file, let's look for lifetime coins. That was something interesting. Lifetime coins, all right, and our first result of 14 lands us here, all right, and if we scroll around and look a little bit, we see that this is a constructor that is inside of a constructor for this particular class, all right, and here's where the fun begins, as if it wasn't already getting fun, right? All right, so here's the game, here's this, all right. If you click this memory tab here, this has been around in Chrome for quite a long time, many years, and you can choose this include numerical values and capture if you want. It'll find the number, but you can't really like search for that to see exactly where it lives, so that hasn't been of too much use for me. So just keep Heap Snapshot selected, and then you can hit record here or take snapshot. So what this is going to do is capture a snapshot of the state of this application right now, the things that are in memory. And we're going to be able to search through those results. And here we have those results. You can save them if you want. You can do multiple snapshots in different times to find when different things are like instantiated. So I'm just going to do another one real quick here and show you once you do that and you have two or more heap snapshots, this drop down here where it says summary, it'll have a comparison, and that will allow you to compare different things between these two snapshots. All right, so that's pretty handy. But anyway, here we have this class filter, and since that was a class that we looked at back in the source, I'm going to paste that here, and here we have the class, right? And this is the instance of it. All right, so if we hover over that, what do we see? A lot of interesting stuff, including coins. Now we can double click here and change our coins, and that change will apply. So let's go back to the game here. We'll go options, quit, done. We'll look at our coins, and 9999 is what we see. All right, so that's cool, but we want to make it a little more convenient than that for ourselves to work with. So what you can do is, I like to bring up the console drawer. All right, I'm going to do that. This will show you any debug information that gets logged out to the console from the game as well. All right, I'm going to clear that, and then I'm going to right click on here and say store as global variable. And what that's going to do is store as a variable. So the variable temp1 gives us a reference to that instanced class in memory. Okay, so now we have that, and anytime we want to see this, we can just, let's clear this, type temp1. There we go. So we can change stuff through here. You can look around through here, make different correlations, tie that back to the source file. So in the source file, basically what you can do is, there are things that you could hard code. Like if you wanted your coins to be a specific value, you could figure out what it's doing with your coins to ascertain values. You could just kind of bypass all that and give yourself a hard-coded number of coins. You can find all kinds of stuff related to enemies in here, enemy health, power, just everything is in here. So whatever you change in here and save and then load the game will load with that stuff. So what we're doing now is basically finding values that we want to see them as, you know, they load into memory while the game is running. Okay, so as I got to looking around, I found another class that we're going to take a look at really fast. And I have that written down in Notepad over here, so I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. 3ed90a, which it started to load here. So I'm going to take a look at this one. Store as global variable. I'm going to clear the window here. That's saved as temp2. Okay. And if we look in here, we've basically gone a level up from what we were just in. All right. So as it turns out, this class has player and player options, among other things. Player options was the one that we were in. Here's our coins and everything else from there. But then in this player, we have all these other values that we can set. So if you get to looking around in here, you can see area, which is basically the size of your weapon and what it affects. Let's set that to 99. Then you have armor, which you could set up. There's power. You could turn greed down, all that kind of stuff, right? There's one max HP, and then move speed. We're going to change that to 9. Okay. And, you know, you could just poke around in here, change some values, go into the game. Actually, what's going to happen here is I'm going to load this character, and those two things that I just changed are going to be reset to default values. So you could find those values in the source file, wherever they are, and make those changes, excuse me, make those changes, and that would be those sort of default values. So let's go to max HP, or I'm sorry, move speed. Oh, so I just need to go to temp2 again, and this will have the updated values in it. So player and then move speed, right? So these were reset to default values. We'll set that to 9. And area, I believe, was the other one. Area. 99. Now that we've got that, let's resume. And we can see that the character is moving very fast and the weapons are just about the size of the screen. So yeah, that's pretty wild. But yeah, you see like kind of how fast we're iterating now. And you know, when I first did this, it was kind of a weekend project or so to dig around in the files and correlate things, search for stuff. You know, at first I tried like gold and things like that, but found it was coins. But once you have some of these sort of core aspects of digging around, it gets pretty easy to sort through stuff like this. Okay, so let me show you one more thing. Now, since we know that application local storage, this is being used, we know that the set item method is being used. And if we take a look in the main bundle.js file and we search for set item, okay, we see set item type and then set item type. We don't see the set item method. So where in the world is it? Well, that's where we will go resources, app, Webpack, renderer, and vendors.bundle. All right, so we'll open that with VS Code. And I'll just go format document so you can see what happens here. Watch, it'll make this one look pretty decent. No, it won't. All right, so anyway, that's okay. What we're going to do is go Control F and set item. Okay, we have 10 results. And we see local storage dot set item. Okay, so we know that there are set item methods here in this particular file. So what we can do now is go back to Chrome and sources, and that vendors bundle.js right here, we can see it's loaded. We could have come here and done this. We'll pretty print it here, and this is what it should look like. And again, you could copy this and paste it back in VS Code and save that, have the pretty printed version for you to dig around in. But let's Control F, and we're going to search for set item. Okay, and we see here set item key and value. If we look up a little bit, we see capacitor storage, and we know that we saw that here, so this is looking pretty good. So now what we can do is toggle this to set a breakpoint. Okay, so now what we're going to do is choose this. All right, and now I'm going to go options, quit, and boom, we've hit our breakpoint. Okay, so now what you can do is look around over here. You can step over, step in, step out, all that good stuff. And so we have our local variables here, and we can dig through those to see what those are. We can look at the call stack and look for interesting methods. Okay, so we see here this sounds volume is being set. If we play, okay, we're going to see now it's music volume. Okay, flashing VFX enabled. And let's say we couldn't find coins the way that we were looking for before. We could step through this since we know that there's something related to coins being set. We'll step through this until we get to something related to coins. Cheat code used. I don't want to step too quickly here. Item and unlock. Nope. It didn't set any coins because I guess we didn't like get or do anything related to coins in that level during that time. So I actually want to try to get a coin really quick because I wanted you to see how this works because it's actually very useful. All right, there we go. We got a coin. Oh, here we go. So we collected a coin and now it's going to set it. So here we have this coins and, you know, this value that it's setting. So these are strings, obviously, and those are what are being set or used to set in the local storage. That doesn't quite help us for like how do we get to the value where we can actually change coins, right? So that's where we could look on the call stack, scroll down a little bit, and look, we have add coins, save coins. So let's click on save coins, and that's going to take us there to save coins. Let's set a breakpoint on save coins. And we have our breakpoints here so that we can keep track of them. I'm going to unset that one, so we disable this breakpoint. Or no, wait, I'm sorry. That's the one we want to set. We'll unset the one that's currently set related to local storage. I'm going to hit play. And now I'm going to go in here and get another coin. And once that happens, hopefully that save coins will fire. We might need to actually set it right here and not outside of it, because I collected a couple of coins and it didn't trigger that breakpoint. So here we go. Should get a coin. Oh, we got chicken. A coin would be fantastic right now. Okay, we've got a... Okay, there we go. Yep, I had it set in on the wrong line. We needed to set it right in here. Okay, so now that we have this, right, we can look down in here and look where this places us. Coins, but this looks familiar, doesn't it? Right? This is currently referencing like that class, right? So now we can right click there and say store object as global variable. Okay, so now if we clear this, we'll have a temp3, right? And boom, we've got that. So if we did temp1 equal temp3, it's true. These are the same things. They're references to the exact same thing. So, you know, that's another way that you can drill your way down to something like that. And this was, you know, another good way to find, like, if you wanted to go even higher up, this add coins might be an interesting method you try this with, to, you know, ascertain whatever. So anyway, trying to think if there's anything else in particular that I wanted to share. I think that's pretty much it for the moment. So, you know, there are ways that you can create persistent sheets, but you just pretty much have to get an understanding of its save files and its source files, all that stuff, what to change when. But this is like a big part of the work done. So AppData, if you go to AppData, you'll see that there is, let's go ahead, open a new tab here and go %appdata. Okay, so we're in AppData and we have these vampire survivors directories, and in here there's some different files that you can take a look through and try to make modifications to if you want. So take a look around in there if you're hunting for some permanence or files that you want to modify that might not be sitting in the game's like file directory. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Should be back soon with another one. I'll just talk to you all then. All right, take care.